In today's episode, I talk with Coach Bailey of the Oklahoma Panhandle State University men's program. If you like our interviews, I would truly appreciate it if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're more of a podcast person, subscribe on your favorite platform as we're on Google, Apple, Spotify, and more. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the different social media channels at discover_CS. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Bailey Guffin from Oklahoma Panhandle State University. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Well, um, excited to talk to you. I'm not familiar with Oklahoma Panhandle State, as I'm sure many of our audience won't be, but they will be after we get done chatting. So
Right.
let's just start talking about the recruiting side of things. You guys are NAIA school. I think
hmm
I recently spoke with one of your fellow conference mates for another interview. But w- when you're recruiting, I mean, looking at your roster, you got a good mix of domestic, international. So,
hmm
how do you go about recruiting? When do you start talking to folks? Kind of what's your process there?
we will really talk to guys year round, but I know on the boys side they like to wait a little bit. So right around about a month ago was when guys are really seriously looking to make some decisions. And that's usually more with the international guys. We feel like a couple months ago when we started, that's when all those guys are really starting to talk to coaches for the first time. So we're getting in contact with them, starting to really make a connection with them. And then of course, as that time goes, and then we'll start really getting out and looking at guys for this year and next year, starting in the spring. Now that our season is wrapping up soon here in a bit. In terms of where we go, we'll hit Oklahoma for the most part, a lot of Texas. We'll get up into Colorado for the summertime to try and hit DU camps and things like that. We haven't hit Kansas quite yet, but it's something we're trying to get into. And then New Mexico is a spot we're trying to hit as well. And of course, internationally, wherever we find good players, we try and bring as many in as we can. So we'll start talking to a lot of them right about now, because that's when the boys are really starting to make their decisions. Those that are seeking the NAIA, maybe junior college type of route, that's when we really start hearing commitments and things like that around this time of year.
So your focus really would right now be on the senior class, the 23s in this case,
Yeah,
and maybe
yeah.
a little bit on the 24 side, right? Yeah.
A little bit on the 24s. Right now a big bulk of it is 23s. The good thing of it is we won't have to bring in too many of them, so we get to have a luxury right now where we get to be a little bit picky with those 23s. Just trying to fill in the gaps where we need them. But right now, definitely looking at 23s and starting on 24s right now too.
Okay. Well, you mentioned camps. Do you guys do your own camps? It sounds like you do camps. Your staff does camps other places. How big of a deal are camps in your recruiting process?
They haven't. We run camps at Panhandle State. We try to as much as we can, just kind of in the location that we hit. It's not like we're bringing in hundreds of guys. We're usually seeing 20 to 30, which is normal, which is always very good because we usually will see some of the same kids starting out from sophomore through senior year. It is pretty big for us to get on the road in the summer to try and hit a few of those bigger camps. Oral Roberts was a big one for us this year. Denver is always one that I try to hit, just because we get to see so many guys, and kind of get to give them that other option, because I know a lot of them are looking at the Division 1, Division 2 coaches that do show up, and give them a separate thing of what NAIA is, what that level looks like. And I think I like the camps where we get to have team camps and a one-on-one kind of deal with the guys, because then we can kind of give them a feel of how we are as coaches. They can see us run a session with them rather than us just watching them for 2 days and going, hey, we're an NAIA, you should come play for us, rather than we get to actually have a connection with them and say, this is how we run our program, this is how we are as coaches, and kind of get to make connections that way.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the states you were looking in. Are there tournaments that are kind of, must go to events that are on your list?
Dallas Cup is always a big one for us. I think that's a pretty easy one. We try to hit some. I know there's a big Oklahoma Winter Showcase we're going to try and hit this year. In all honesty, in the years past that we've been here, we've been so heavy international. This will be probably the first recruiting class where we're truly on the road hitting more domestic showcases. When I came in, I wanted to get kind of a more of a mixture. We were 100% international when I was the assistant here, and with a couple of domestic guys. And now we're trying to get to where it's more of an even split. So this will be the first time we really get on the road and hit those domestic showcases. So we're still kind of learning the lay of the land of where we want to hit and what are the best ones to hit. So that's kind of a learning experience we're going through right now.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Well, on the international front, I'm assuming you're working primarily through video and with agencies. How difficult is that to kind of manage?
It's only really hard when you have to get in touch with guys from Japan or Australia. Everybody else, it's not too hard. I like to get up early, so getting to reach out to those guys early morning for us, which is afternoon for them, it's honestly not super hard. I think it's getting organized with how many guys you are reaching out to, because as the agencies will send you a list of guys and they're all usually very good and you want to talk to a lot of them, and just keeping in touch with them. But it's honestly not as hard to manage as I thought, because I think the ones that really buy into our philosophy are the ones that we really latch on to straight away from the first Zoom call, the first phone call. You can tell right away who's really excited about coming to a place like Panhandle State, because it is in the middle of nowhere, and we tell them that pretty quickly. Hey, we do call it no man's land. We have a big sign outside the stadium that says no man's land, so we tell them exactly what it is. So I think we do talk to a lot of people, but we can latch on pretty quickly on who's up to live in a place like this and who's up for what we're kind of trying to build. So not as hard as I thought it might be, honestly.
Okay. Well, whether it's domestic or international, at a camp or tournament, whatever, what is your hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player, whether that's on the field attributes or off the field attributes?
I think the biggest thing we look for is, especially where we are in our program right now, it's somebody that's built into a project and built into a process. And every guy will say they are built in, they are ready for something like that. But I think for us, we are really looking for people that want to be here and want to stay here for 4 years, and whatever that might look like. We call it kind of doing, soccer is kind of 20% of what they do at a university. We want guys that are really invested in doing the community service part of it, the culture part of what we do, the fundraising of what we do, going to other teams' games. And so we really, really look for guys that are invested with that, good interactions with us as coaches, very coachable, and very interactive with their teammates. We will usually get them in touch with somebody that's on our roster during the recruiting process to kind of, hey, how is Panhandle State? What's it like? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And kind of getting those responses through our leadership team. In terms of on field, in terms of soccer, we believe if you can play here. We'll find places for you. We don't have a set type of player, physicality wise and technical ability. Obviously, we want guys to be able to play and guys to be tactically aware. But this conference, specifically in the NAI, you have to want it more than everybody else. So we do look for some of the hardest working guys that can go out there and really just run and love to tackle and love to put in a shift, whatever that kind of looks like for them. We always preach having very unselfish players, both with and without the ball, and kind of doing the hard work in moments that they don't believe you should be working hard. And those are some of the big attributes for us that we really look for.
Okay. Well, in terms of, one of the questions that parents always ask, it's, well, how much is this going to cost me, right? So not holding you to any hard numbers here, but just give me an overall picture of the financial aid situation, scholarships, whether that's athletic, academic, what's an average student athlete walking into?
So without any financial aid at all, they're typically, this is both for domestic and international, a good range would be anywhere between 15 to 16,000 for the year. And that's including everything. That's going to be your meals, that's going to be your room and board, your books. Obviously, if you're taking online courses, they will cost a little bit more. If you're taking a plus class, they'll cost a little bit more. And then of course with the domestic guys, if they're coming in with their FAFSA done, and if they get a Pell Grant, that can help out. Guys coming in from Oklahoma that have done their Oklahoma Promise, that can always help out as well. We're also one of the only few Hispanic serving institutions in Oklahoma. So Hispanic-based students come in and they get a whole different set of foundation scholarships they can apply for. And some of those include 100% housing waiver for a year. So coming in with your FAFSA done, that $16,000 for the year can get down to 9 to 10 pretty quickly. And that's before we're even talking about academic. That's before we're talking about athletic aid. That's before we're talking about work study on campus, which is a big plus for our international guys. You can come in here, get your Social Security, and get a job within the first couple months, and that helps pay for, obviously it helps your family along the way. In terms of men's soccer, we do have ability to get Oklahoma kids the financial aid that they need as well. It gives us an incentive to continue to bring in Oklahoma-based athletes. So that's why we're getting on the road a bit more with Oklahoma guys to go, we have an option for you guys as Oklahoma residents. You know, this could be a really good scenario for you. So we have a lot of ways that we can really get kids going to school for really cheap, and we can stack all of that. Just because I give somebody a scholarship doesn't mean they can't go get academic, doesn't mean they can't go get a job. So if you really play your cards right, you end up going to school for really, really cheap here. And then after your freshman year, when you're no longer having to be in the dorms, you're no longer required to be on a meal plan. So if you want to take the option to go do your own groceries and things like that, you can opt out of a meal plan. It makes it cheaper right there straight away. And so they give some incentives for the students to get out of the dorms and get into cheaper housing options, you know, whether it be GPA based or job based or whatever that might be. So it is one of those places, if you do it right, you go to school for fairly cheap here.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, let's talk more about the school itself. You know, I can go on the website and click around, but you've been the assistant coach there, now the head coach, so you've got some good insights. So give me some of the awesome things about Panhandle that maybe I'm not going to learn just by going through the website.
I think from the outside looking in, you go on Google Maps and it's in the middle of nowhere. And for a lot of students that are coming from cities, it can be a very scary thing to have. And I won't lie, when I came here as the assistant, I came from Morgantown, when there's thousands of people and always something to do on every corner. And I came here, I was a bit scared myself, thinking, what am I going to do here? Who am I going to meet? First off, it's one of those places that if you're here to get a degree and get to really excel at what you want to be one day, this is one of those places. The distractions are minimal, the crime is minimal. And I think what we have here is a community that buys into everything that is Panhandle State. And I think that's one of the coolest bits of it, because when you only have so many people living in town, you go to the local restaurants here and people know that's a soccer player, that's a soccer coach, that's a basketball player, that's a baseball player, whatever it might be. It's almost like our own little domain. Like, we are the town. Panhandle State is the place. If the football team's doing well, everybody goes and watches the football team. If the soccer team's doing well, we hosted last year in the conference tournament, everybody was there. Didn't matter if you were a soccer fan, baseball fan, basketball fan. There's a community that's bought in to Panhandle State itself. Obviously, cheap schooling is pretty great as well. And we're also, I would just say, just the people and the community and everything that goes with it. I think when you come here and go, well, there's not a lot to do, but you meet the people and how invested everybody on staff is in their students and in the staff itself. I think you come in here and find something that a lot of athletes probably don't get at a lot of places they go. They feel wanted, and they feel like, we want you to be here for 4 years. We don't want you to, oh, okay, it's this guy, we may know, we may not. You get here and everybody knows who you are. And I think that's one of the hardest things that athletes are really looking for in a college experience, is to be wanted in a university. And so I think we give that to every person that comes here.
Oh, that's great. Well, you mentioned the academic side of things. So, you know, for soccer players, for your men's soccer players, how do they kind of balance those sport commitments along with the heavy academic load? You know, what kind of support systems are in place at the school to kind of help them balance the two things?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we have study hall put in place for them. That's one. We have two tutoring centers here. We have an academic resource center where they can come in and they'll help you with your papers, and you can come in anytime. They also offer counseling, of course. It gets really tough mentally, I think, through the year with an academic and athletic load. And we have another academic resource center called El Centro, which is our Hispanic center, but they have student tutors. So our goalkeeper, Kata, is the math tutor for everybody that comes in for math. And they offer study hall hours in there. They work long hours. They work 7 days a week. So there are 2 tutoring services that they offer. And I do believe they get a subscription to, what is it, tutor.com or whatever that is. They get that free when they go work with the Academic Resource Center. You know, with us, the professors work really well with our student athletes as long as we communicate when we are going to be on the road. They offer a lot of online options for students to be able to take their tests and do all their stuff on the road in the hotel. So yeah, we have 2 big resources right then and there on top of study hall. So I think for us, we have the best. Our students are able to be taken care of and really make sure that their academics are being taken care of.
Oh, that's good. Can you walk me through what you're in the middle, towards the end of your season now, right? But can you walk me through what does a typical week in the season look like in terms of, when are practice times, when are meals, when are kids going to class, what's the kind of the game sequencing, that kind of thing?
So right now we're training at night. So that allows everybody to kind of have early morning classes if they need to. They can go work during the day. The way I understand it is a lot of guys will do the bulk of their classes in the morning, class, study hall, and then they will work if they have a job on campus during the afternoon. The afternoon will involve working. It will involve study hall, anything that they need to do outside of school and outside of soccer. Depending on the day, we'll come in and we'll do a lift. Obviously, right now, lifting is more recovery lifting, and then we will train at night. We played a game last night. Tonight, the guys that played big minutes will recover, and the guys that are maybe not getting a lot of minutes will do a true session. Tomorrow will kind of be similar because we have a game in 2 days. So right now we're training at night, and next year in the spring we'll do 2 days in the morning, 2 days at night, lifting 4 days a week. And so it can be a pretty heavy load, but that's typically right now what it looks like. They do predominant of their work in the morning, working their jobs in the middle, and then soccer at night.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little, talk about the actual soccer side of things, right? So, is there a roster size that you're aiming to hit? You talked about you won't have to recruit a lot for the next fall. What's kind of your ideal roster size?
This year we hit about 32, which I thought was a sweet spot for us because as the season goes on and injuries and whatnot, it kind of put us right around 26, 27. That's a good roster size for us. Anywhere between 30 to 35. Not too big, not too small, good training sessions, able to get a good amount of depth in there as well. We used to have a reserve team here at Panhandle State. We don't have that anymore. So right now, just anywhere between 30 to 35 is probably best for us.
Okay. Now you have other staff besides yourself. So what's the staff look like? What are their roles? What's that kind of?
Yeah, so I brought in, Malik got here 3 weeks out from preseason. He was working the FC Dallas Youth Academy in Texas before he got here. He does a great job. He does a lot of our domestic recruiting. I've put a lot of that on him, so he's going to enjoy getting to go back home and do a lot of Dallas recruiting this spring. Just the typical duties of the assistant, helping out with everything that I'm not doing. He's done a great job. I've been able to give him a lot of work to do, which has been great, which has really made this first year for me amazing. We have a volunteer assistant. He's our goalkeeper coach, John. Does a great job. He's actually been here as long as I've been here. He was a student assistant, and then he graduated and took a year off to start working, and then I brought him back in as a volunteer assistant, which has been awesome. And then we have a true student assistant, Isaac Poole. He's another goalkeeper coach, which has been double the fun for us. And then, we have a small staff of student managers, but, for Malik and I, it's been great because we see the same thing in terms of culture. And I think that's so hard to find. We see soccer in a lot of different ways, which I think is fun and challenging in a lot of ways, but I think we see the same things in terms of our culture. And so it's made it very easy to kind of delegate duties and roles and how we attack problems within the team and how we attack going into games and any issues we might have. We're a quite young coaching staff. We're both 25. So that's been a fun piece in itself. So that's what the staff kind of looks like right now.
Okay. Well, how would you describe your kind of style of coaching, team style of play, and just that overall culture of the team?
In terms of style of play, this year we've had the love to have the ball. We have a undersized group. We have a lot of guys that not your typical NAIA team with a lot of big guys running around. So we've had to really enjoy loving having the ball. And I think that's been the most fun part about it is getting to watch these guys play a style of soccer that they really, really enjoy. Having the ball, we're very patient in our build out. We love to play through the third. If we have to play direct, we will. But for us, it's not 100 miles per hour. It's patient build out. We'll try and break teams down. We'll try and pull teams out of their block, and we'll play between the lines, and we'll do it that way. In terms of style of coaching, I think the most fun we've had is the relationship we built with them has been we really wanted to get these guys to trust us pretty quickly rather than, I don't know how anybody else would attack it, but we really wanted these guys to trust us pretty quick. And us being quite young, we've been able to create relationships that have done just that for us. And so when we get to be hard on them and really hold them accountable, having that trust allows them to really understand that what we are saying, we really care about them in those moments. And so I think in terms of culture, we believe that the culture builds our winning. We don't believe that winning builds culture. Everything going on outside of the team, is everybody bought into community service? Is everybody doing their bit in the fundraising? And are we doing our bit in terms of culture? Are we interacting well? Are we spending time together off the field? How are our interactions with each other? And with that, it's really built a culture that is so much fun to be a part of that, no, we may not be winning every game right now, but the culture will win in the end for us. And that's what we believe in. And we have a team that believes in that right now, which is very exciting for next year for sure.
Awesome. Well, we kind of talked about a lot of different things here, and I always like to end these the same way, and that's what didn't we talk about? What else would you want anybody to know, whether that's about the college recruiting process, about your school, the team, or anything else? I give you last word here.
Shoot. I would say the most success that student athletes will have in this process is continuing to be persistent in their process, whether that be Division I or a JUCO, NAIA Division III. At every level, being persistent is huge because we do have hundreds of guys and players reaching out to us every day, and it can be easy to get lost in that mix. Being persistent. There's been a couple guys that we ended up bringing in because they did not stop emailing, they did not stop calling, and maybe a video gets lost in the pile, maybe a showcase, maybe we happen to end up at a Dallas Cup game and we didn't see you as very much on your film, but we watch you in the game and we go, oh, that kid emailed me 4 or 5 times and now I've seen him in real life. Okay, let's do this. So I think being persistent, but also not being tied down to any certain level. I think a lot of us would agree that anybody in the NAIA and anybody at a junior college should go out and play anybody in Division I. And so I think getting tied down to one division is really a tough sell for a lot of guys. So be open to every level, every division, and go to the place that you wanted, and go to the place that you feel the most valued at. Don't go to some place where you feel maybe you're not wanted to be there and play. If the coaches are really making the effort to get with you and get out to you and watch you and speak with you every day, that's the place you're going to want to go. And I would look at that first, where you're going to be valued the most.
Absolutely. Wise words. Well, Coach, really appreciate the time and wish you the best of luck there at senior night coming up. And
Yep.
We'll keep an eye on you and see how you guys are doing throughout next year. And again, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. You don't want to miss the 2023 United Soccer Coaches Convention in Philadelphia from January 11th to the 15th. This convention is the largest gathering of soccer coaches, administrators, and fans in the world. Only at the convention can you attend sessions crafted with your coaching level and desired topics in mind. Presented by world-class educators, our collection of over 200 lecture sessions and field demonstrations will offer every coach something to bring back to their own training sessions. Come learn from Amanda Vandervoort, president of the USL Super League, Anthony Flores, youth technical director of the Philadelphia Union, Becky Burley and Brett Ledbetter of What Drives Winning, Laura Harvey, head coach of OL Reign FC, and Dan Abraham, sports psychologist. More presenters will be announced in the months leading up to the convention. Visit www.unitedsoccercoachesconvention.org to register before the next price increase.